She woke up in a cage, surrounded by death, sold by the one person she trusted most. But when a mysterious billionaire paid $3 million to save her life, Lena discovered that escape was just the beginning. What you're about to hear will shake you to your core. A story of betrayal, survival, and the thin line between salvation and ownership. If you're ready for a journey that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last word, smash that like button right now. Hit subscribe and share this with someone who loves intense, emotional stories. Trust me, you'll want to be here for every second of what happens next. Let's begin. The gunshot echoed through the warehouse like thunder, and Lena's scream died in her throat. She watched the girl beside her crumble to the concrete floor, her body hitting the ground with a sickening thud that would haunt Lena forever. Blood pooled rapidly beneath the lifeless form, spreading like spilled wine across the dirty floor. The other captives shrieked in terror, their voices bouncing off the metal walls, but Lena couldn't make a sound. Her voice had abandoned her, trapped somewhere between her lungs and her mouth. Anyone else want to try running? The guard's voice was casual, almost bored, as he lowered his weapon. He surveyed the remaining girls with cold, empty eyes that seemed to see right through them, as if they were already ghosts. Didn't think so. Lena's hands trembled violently as she pressed herself against the cage bars, trying to disappear into the shadows. Her heart hammered so hard, she thought it might burst through her chest. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. Just 3 weeks ago, she'd been sitting in her tiny apartment in Seoul, holding her little brother's hand and promising him everything would be okay. Uncle Han had smiled so warmly when he'd offered her the contract, his eyes crinkling at the corners the way her father's used to. A job opportunity in Singapore, he'd said. Good money. Enough to pay off the medical bills and keep her brother in school. She'd believed him. God help her. She'd actually believed him. Now she was here, in this nightmare that smelled of rust and fear and death. The other girls huddled together like wounded animals, their faces streaked with tears and grime. Some had been here longer than Lena, their eyes already empty, resigned to whatever horror awaited them. Others were newer, still clinging to hope like it was something solid they could hold on to. The warehouse door groaned open again, and a different man entered. This one wore an expensive suit that seemed obscene in this place of suffering. He carried himself with the confidence of someone who owned the world and everyone in it. Behind him, 2 more guards dragged another unconscious girl into the space, dumping her carelessly onto the floor near the cages. Status report, the suited man demanded, his voice crisp and businesslike. 15 still viable for the auction, sir, the guard replied. Lost 2 during transport, 1 attempted escape today. The suited man nodded as if they were discussing furniture, not human lives. The buyers are already assembling. The Vortex wants premium merchandise this time. Chinese, Japanese, American clients. Big money. He walked slowly along the row of cages, inspecting the captives like one might examine livestock. When he reached Lena's cage, he stopped. This one, he said, gesturing toward her. She's pretty. Scared, but not broken yet. They'll pay more for that. Lena wanted to spit at him, to scream, to claw his eyes out through the bars. Instead, she just stared, her defiance the only weapon she had left. Prep them all, the suited man continued, turning away. We leave in 3 hours. And clean up that mess. He gestured dismissively toward the dead girl. It's bad for morale. After he left, the guards moved through methodically, unlocking cages one by one and herding the girls toward a back room. Lena's legs barely supported her weight as she stumbled forward, following the others. The back room contained several buckets of water and rough towels. They were given 5 minutes to wash the worst of the filth off their bodies and change into simple black dresses that had been laid out. An older girl with a scar across her cheek leaned close to Lena as they washed. First auction, she whispered. Lena nodded, not trusting her voice. Whatever happens, don't fight. Don't cry. Don't show them anything. The ones who fight back don't last long. The girl's eyes were distant, haunted. My name was Minji. At least it used to be. I'm Lena, she managed to whisper back. How long have you been? 6 months. Sold twice already. First buyer got bored, second one got arrested. Minji's laugh was brittle, broken. Now I'm back on the market. That's how it works. You're never really free. The words settled over Lena like a shroud. 6 months. Minji had survived 6 months of this hell. Lena didn't know if she could survive 6 more hours. They were loaded into a windowless van that stank of sweat and desperation. Lena counted 12 girls total, pressed together in the darkness as the vehicle rumbled through unseen streets. Some cried quietly. Others sat in stunned silence. Minji stared at nothing, her fingers tracing and retracing the scar on her face like a rosary. Where are they taking us? Someone asked in broken Korean. The Vortex, Minji answered. Underground auction house. Biggest in East Asia. They sell everything there. Stolen art, drugs, weapons, people. We're just another commodity. The van journey felt endless, each bump and turn another step toward an unknown horror. Lena closed her eyes and tried to imagine her brother's face, tried to remember what hope felt like. She'd promised to come back to him. She'd promised so many things. When the van finally stopped, the doors were yanked open, flooding the space with harsh fluorescent light. They were in an underground parking structure, vast and empty except for expensive cars and armed men. The suited man from the warehouse was there, checking his watch impatiently. Move them to holding, he commanded. Auction starts in 30 minutes. They were led through concrete corridors that twisted like a maze, deeper and deeper underground. The air grew colder, heavy with anticipation and dread. Finally, they reached a large holding area divided by chain-link partitions. Other women were already there, dozens of them, representing a horrifying spectrum of ages and nationalities. All wore the same expression of barely contained terror. A woman in a severe black suit approached with a clipboard, her heels clicking against the floor like gunshots. She moved down the line of new arrivals with mechanical efficiency, attaching numbered tags to their dresses and photographing each face. Lot 47 through 58, she announced to no one in particular, making notes on her clipboard. When she reached Lena, she paused, tilting her head appraisingly. Pretty. Young. This one should do well. Put her in the second wave. Lena was separated from Minji and pushed toward a smaller holding pen. 5 other girls were there, all young, all terrified. Through a gap in the partition, Lena could see into the auction room itself. Her breath caught. The space was massive, styled like a twisted mockery of an upscale theater. Tiered seating rose in a semicircle around a raised platform with a single spotlight. Already, buyers were filing in, men and women in expensive clothes who laughed and chatted as if they were attending an opera. Waiters circulated with champagne. The normalcy of it all made Lena's stomach turn. First wave, positions, someone barked, and several girls were heard. Through the partition, Lena watched in horror as the auction began. A woman in a red evening gown walked onto the platform, her smile bright and false as she addressed the crowd through a microphone. Welcome, distinguished guests, to tonight's exclusive collection. We have 42 premium acquisitions for your consideration. As always, all sales are final. All transactions are secure, and discretion is guaranteed. The first girl was led onto the stage. She couldn't have been more than 16, her eyes wide with terror as the spotlight hit her. The auctioneer rattled off details as if describing a car: age, nationality, language skills, condition. The bidding started at $50,000. Lena watched the numbers climb higher and higher as paddles rose throughout the audience. 100,000. 200,000. The girl stood frozen in the spotlight, tears streaming down her face, while wealthy strangers decided her fate with casual hand gestures. Finally, at $375,000, a man in the front row secured the purchase. The girl was led off the stage, and another immediately took her place. It went on and on. Girl after girl, each one sold to the highest bidder. Some fetched higher prices than others, depending on their age, their looks, their apparent quality. The audience members treated it like entertainment, laughing and making comments to each other between bids. Lena's legs gave out, and she collapsed against the chain-link fence. This couldn't be real. Humans couldn't do this to other humans. But the evidence was right in front of her, undeniable and horrifying. Second wave. The command came too soon. Hands grabbed Lena's arms, hauling her to her feet. She was pushed through a doorway with the other girls, lined up in a narrow corridor just off the stage. She could hear the auctioneer's voice, bright and cheerful, announcing lot numbers and starting bids. One by one, the girls ahead of her disappeared through the stage entrance. Each time, Lena heard the murmur of the crowd, the steady rhythm of rising bids, the final hammer fall marking another completed transaction. Then it was her turn. The guard shoved her forward, and suddenly Lena was walking into blinding light. The spotlight was so bright she couldn't see the audience, just a wall of darkness beyond the stage. But she could feel their eyes on her, appraising, calculating, determining her worth. Lot 53, the auctioneer announced. 22 years old, Korean, university educated, English and Korean fluent. Excellent condition. Starting bid is $100,000. Lena stood frozen in the light, her mind screaming at her body to move, to run, to do something. But there was nowhere to go. Guards flanked the stage exits. Even if she could escape this room, she had no idea where she was or how to find a way out. 100,000. A voice called from the darkness. 150. Another countered. The bids came faster now, climbing higher. 200,000. 250. 300,000. Lena's vision blurred with tears, but she refused to let them fall. Don't cry, Minji had said. Don't show them anything. 350, someone offered. The auctioneer's smile widened. We have $350,000. Any advance on 350. A moment of silence. Lena's heart pounded so hard she thought everyone must be able to hear it. Then, from somewhere in the back of the room, a new voice rang out. It was deep, commanding, and carried an edge of barely controlled fury. $3 million. The entire room fell silent. Even the auctioneer seemed stunned, her professional composure slipping for just a moment. I'm sorry, sir, did you say? 3 million, the voice repeated. For her. Now. Murmurs rippled through the crowd like a wave as heads turned toward the back of the room. Lena squinted against the spotlight, trying to see who'd spoken, but the glare was too intense. $3 million. The number was so absurd it didn't feel real. The auctioneer recovered quickly, her professional mask sliding back into place. $3 million is the bid. Any other offers? She paused, scanning the room with barely concealed excitement. The commission on this sale alone would be astronomical. Going once. Going twice. She raised her gavel. Sold to the gentleman in the back for $3 million. The room erupted in conversation. Lena swayed on her feet, dizzy with confusion and terror. What kind of person paid $3 million for a human being? What did they want? What would they do to her? Guards approached the stage, but before they could reach her, a man strode forward from the back of the room. The crowd parted for him like water, and even in her disoriented state, Lena could see why. He moved with absolute authority, each step purposeful and controlled. He wore a dark suit that's probably very expensive, and his face was striking, sharp features and intense eyes that seemed to cut through the chaos and fix directly on her. I'll take her now, he said, his voice leaving no room for argument. The suited man from the warehouse appeared, smiling obsequiously. Of course, Mr. N. Just some paperwork to complete, and then… Now, the man repeated, and something in his tone made even the hardened criminals running this operation hesitate. Papers were hastily produced and signed. Money transferred through untraceable accounts. Through it all, the man kept his eyes on Lena, his expression unreadable. Finally, he climbed onto the stage and held out his hand to her. Can you walk? He asked, and his voice was surprisingly gentle. Lena stared at his outstretched hand. Every instinct screamed not to trust him, not to trust anyone. But what choice did she have? She was sold. The transaction was complete. Whatever happened next was inevitable. She took his hand. His grip was firm but careful, steadying her as she stepped down from the platform. Her legs trembled so badly she almost fell, but he caught her elbow, supporting her weight. "I've got you," he said quietly. "Just keep walking." He led her through the crowd, and Lena was dimly aware of eyes following them, whispers trailing in their wake. They exited through a side door, then another, and another, moving through corridors until the sounds of the auction faded behind them. Finally, they emerged into the parking structure where Lena had arrived what felt like a lifetime ago. A sleek black car waited near the elevator. The man opened the passenger door and gestured for her to get in. When Lena hesitated, he said, "I know you have no reason to trust me, but I promise you, I'm not going to hurt you." Something in his eyes made her believe him. Or maybe she was just too exhausted to care anymore. She slid into the car, sinking into leather seats that felt impossibly luxurious after hours in cages and vans. The man closed her door gently, then walked around to the driver's side. As he started the engine, Lena found her voice. "Why?" The word came out as barely a whisper. "Why did you pay that much for me?" He glanced at her, his jaw tight. "Because no one else should have been allowed to." They drove in silence through darkened streets. Lena watched the city pass by the window, Seoul at night in all its neon glory, so normal, so oblivious to the horrors happening beneath its surface. People walked along sidewalks, laughing and talking. Cars honked. Life continued as if nothing was wrong. "My name is Kai," the man said eventually.
"그래."
"And I need you to know that I didn't come to that auction to buy anyone. I was there looking for something my brother stole from me. But when I saw you on that stage..." He paused, his hands tightening on the steering wheel. "I couldn't let them have you." "So what now?" Lena asked, hating how small her voice sounded. "What happens to me?" "Now you're safe," Kai said simply. "That's what happens. You're safe, and tomorrow we'll start figuring out the rest." "Safe." Lena repeated the word like it was foreign. "I don't even know what that means anymore." Kai pulled up to a tall building that gleamed with floor-to-ceiling windows. A doorman rushed to open the car doors, greeting Kai with a respectful nod. Lena followed Kai into a marble lobby that looked like something from a magazine, then into a private elevator that rose so smoothly she barely felt the movement. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse apartment. Lena stepped out and stopped, overwhelmed. The space was enormous, all clean lines and expensive furnishings. One entire wall was glass, offering a view of Seoul spread out below like a carpet of stars. "You must be exhausted," Kai said, setting his keys on a side table. "There's a guest room down this hall. It has its own bathroom, clean clothes in the closet. Take whatever you need. Rest." "I don't understand," Lena said, and suddenly tears were spilling down her cheeks, all the fear and horror of the past weeks crashing over her at once. "I don't understand any of this. Why are you helping me? What do you want from me?" Kai's expression softened. "I don't want anything from you, Lena. I just want you to be okay." "How do you know my name?" "It was in the auction listing," he said quietly. "Your name, your age, where you're from. They had your whole life reduced to selling points." Anger flashed across his face. "But you're not a commodity. You're a person. And you deserve better than what they did to you." Lena wrapped her arms around herself, shaking. "My uncle sold me. He looked me in the eye and promised me a job opportunity, and then he sold me to those people. My own uncle." "I know," Kai said. "And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to you." "I have a brother," Lena continued, the words tumbling out now. "He's only 15. He's in Seoul somewhere, probably terrified because I disappeared. I have to find him. I have to make sure he's safe." "We will," Kai promised. "First thing tomorrow, I'll have my people start looking for him. We'll find him." "Why?" Lena asked again. "Why would you do all this for a stranger?" Kai was quiet for a long moment. "Because 6 years ago, someone I loved very much was taken. Trafficked like you were. I searched for months, but I was too late. I found her, but..." He stopped, his voice catching. I couldn't save her. So when I saw you tonight, when I saw that look in your eyes, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't fail again. The raw pain in his voice was unmistakable. Lena saw then that whatever his motivations, they were genuine. He wasn't rescuing her for himself. He was rescuing her for someone he'd lost. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be sorry, Kai said. Just rest. Tomorrow will be better. I promise. He showed her to the guest room, and Lena stood in the doorway after he left, staring at the enormous bed with its white linens. A bed. A real bed, soft and clean and safe. She walked to the bathroom and turned on the shower, letting the water run until steam filled the room. When she finally stepped under the spray, the water was almost too hot, but Lena didn't care. She scrubbed at her skin until it was red, trying to wash away the memory of the cages, the warehouse, the stage. She stood there until the water ran cold, then wrapped herself in a towel softer than anything she'd ever felt. The closet held clothes in various sizes, still with tags attached. Lena chose the simplest outfit she could find, soft pajamas that felt like heaven against her clean skin. She climbed into the bed and pulled the covers up to her chin, but sleep wouldn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the dead girl on the warehouse floor. Heard the gunshot, felt the terror of standing under that spotlight. She was still awake when the sky began to lighten with dawn. Exhaustion weighed on her like a physical thing, but her mind wouldn't quiet. Finally, she got up and padded to the kitchen on bare feet. Kai was already there, standing at the counter with a cup of coffee and a laptop. He looked up when she entered, concern crossing his face. Couldn't sleep, he asked. Lena shook her head. Every time I close my eyes. I know, he said gently. It's going to take time. He poured her a cup of coffee without asking if she wanted it, somehow knowing she needed something warm to hold. They stood together in comfortable silence as the sun rose over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. I have someone arriving in an hour, Kai said eventually. Her name is Dr. Park. She specializes in trauma counseling. I thought maybe you'd want to talk to someone. You thought of everything, Lena said, and there was no accusation in her tone, just wonder. I'm trying, Kai admitted. I won't pretend to know what you're going through. But I want to help however I can. The doorbell chimed, making Lena jump. Kai frowned, checking his watch. That's not Dr. Park. She's not due for another 40 minutes. He walked to the door and checked the security screen, his frown deepening. It's my brother. Maybe I should. Lena started to retreat toward the guest room, but Kai shook his head.
No. Stay.
You're safe here. He opened the door, and a man who looked remarkably like Kai entered. This man was slightly shorter, his features softer but his eyes harder. He looked at Lena with unconcealed interest that made her skin crawl. Minjo, Kai said, his tone carefully neutral. What are you doing here? I heard about your impulsive purchase last night, Minjo replied, his eyes never leaving Lena. $3 million, brother? That's excessive, even for you. It's my money, Kai said coldly. And none of your business. Everything you do is my business, Minjo countered. Especially when you're wasting family resources on, he gestured dismissively at Lena, charity cases. Get out, Kai said, his voice dangerously quiet. Minjo smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Just wanted to meet the girl who's worth $3 million. She must be very special. He took a step toward Lena, and she instinctively backed away. Kai moved between them, his posture protective. I said get out. Now. For a moment, the brothers stared at each other, some unspoken conflict playing out between them. Finally, Minjo laughed and held up his hands in mock surrender.
Fine.
I'm going. But brother, be careful. You always did have a weakness for strays. He glanced past Kai at Lena. Enjoy your new pet. Kai slammed the door after him, his jaw clenched with fury. He turned to Lena, and his expression immediately softened. I'm sorry you had to see that. Minjo is complicated. He scares me, Lena admitted. He won't come back, Kai promised. I'll make sure of it. Dr. Park arrived shortly after, a kind-faced woman in her 50s who spoke to Lena with gentle understanding. They talked for over an hour, and while it didn't erase what had happened, it helped. Dr. Park explained trauma responses, gave Lena strategies for managing the nightmares and panic attacks that would likely come. She validated Lena's feelings, her fear, her anger at her uncle's betrayal. After Dr. Park left, Kai brought Lena lunch on a tray. Simple food, nothing fancy, but more than she'd eaten in days. As she ate, he opened his laptop again. "I have news about your brother," he said carefully. "My people found him." Lena's head snapped up, her heart racing. "Is he okay?" "Where is he?" "He's safe," Kai assured her quickly. "He's been staying with a neighbor since you disappeared. But Lena, there's something you need to know. Your uncle has been looking for him." Fear crashed over her.
No.
"No, he can't. We won't let anything happen to him," Kai said firmly. "I've already sent people to bring him here. He'll be safe with us." Lena's eyes filled with tears again. "Thank you. God, thank you so much." "You don't have to thank me," Kai said. "This is what anyone should do." But Lena knew better. Most people wouldn't have done any of this. Most people would have walked past that auction, or worse, participated in it. Kai was different. She didn't fully understand why yet, but she was beginning to trust that he meant what he said. Her brother arrived that evening, thin and frightened but unharmed. When Lena saw him standing in Kai's doorway, she ran to him, pulling him into her arms and sobbing into his shoulder. "I thought I'd never see you again," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I left." "It's not your fault," her brother said, his own tears falling. "Uncle Han lied to you. He lied to both of us." They held each other for a long time while Kai quietly arranged for dinner, giving them space to reunite. Later, after her brother had fallen asleep in the second guest room, exhausted from fear and relief, Lena found Kai on the balcony, staring out at the city. "I'll never be able to repay you for this," she said. Kai turned to her, his expression serious. "You don't owe me anything, Lena. Not money, not loyalty, nothing. You're free. That's the whole point." "But—" "No buts," he said firmly. "You and your brother are safe now. That's all that matters." Lena looked out at Seoul spread below them, at all those lights hiding so many secrets, so much pain. But up here, in this moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in weeks.
Hope.
If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and if you think Lena and her brother are truly safe now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because part 2 is coming soon, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The real danger hasn't even started yet. Like this video if this story got to you, and I'll see you in the next episode.